Hey, go getters. If you are live with me now, definitely feel free to say hello in the chat. We are testing some new software. And so, hey, go getters. It looks like we are here streaming on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram. If you're here with me live, please go ahead and drop a hey in the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I'd love to shout you out. Hey, Palaska, how are you? Oh, I love seeing y'all come in the room. Um, what we'll be talking about today is actually it's a pretty exciting topic. Oh, hey, Debbie. Hi, how are you? Oh, hey, fashionable chic tour. I'm liking it. It's giving luxe to me. Hi, Casa Marcelo. How are you? Good to see you. So, thank you, ladies, for joining in. For those who enter into the space, or even if you watch it on the replay, I love to say thank you. It's an honor each time. Oh, thank you so much, Debbie. It's so exciting to catch you here, too. Yeah, so tonight I'm actually just going to be sharing. So, in this video, we're going to be talking about the best time to follow up without literally feeling like a nag. And I want us to talk through some of this tonight because let's talk about something that might be costing you money. It's when to follow up without feeling like you're chasing people away. So every time you hesitate to follow up, you're actually leaving money on the table. So think about that for a minute. Let's pause. Let's sit in that. And how many leads have you let slip through the cracks just because maybe you weren't sure if it was too soon or it was too late to follow up? But I want you to pause for a second. Let me know in the comments, how many times do you follow up before giving up? And please, as always, I love to say that this is a safe space. So be honest. How many times do you tend to follow up before you give up? And if you're like, Tanisha, this is just like stressing me out in general, so drop a fire emoji in the chat. If you just like, I don't even know, Tanisha, I don't know how many times it's just stressing me out, you could just drop a fire emoji and I'll feel you. So be honest, we're here for it. So oh, okay, so I see some people saying two, maybe like five, 4 or 5. Okay, thank y'all for being honest. It's a safe space. So by the end of this video, we're going to be talking about exactly when to follow up, how often, and even what tools to use so you can close more deals and stop missing out on sales. So spoiler alert, the right follow up is at the right time when there is no time where it doesn't feel pushy. The mindset of it is you want it to feel helpful, and it is helping someone, and I'll show you exactly how to make that happen. So section 1, we're going to actually talk about why the timing matters in follow-up. So if you're here with me live or whether you're watching this on the replay, have you ever sent a follow-up and felt like you were just bugging somebody? Like that's maybe something that plays into your timing. Maybe it's a huge role in whether you follow up, or it maybe even seems helpful to them. Or maybe you just feel like you're another email or another message clogging up this person's inbox. Let me know in the chat. So if you're new here, I'm a little bit of a data nerd. So, of course, I had to go run some numbers, y'all. And I went and checked, and there was this stat that I thought was super interesting where it talked about 80% of sales requires at least 5 follow-ups. But most people stop after about 2. And I thought that was pretty shocking. And I have to come clean too, because I've been there earlier on in the business. You send a follow up or two, and then it's kind of like dead water. Later on today, I'll actually share a story of why I no longer subscribe to that. And a part of that is we just give up way too soon before the leads are even ready for to buy. So if you've been feeling discouraged, don't. You might just be giving up too soon. So I saw in the chat earlier Dr. Odakoy says, I like my edges. You're yelling. I like to snatch a little edges because I get mine snatched too. But yeah, a lot of us, we just give up way before the lead is even ready. And a lot of that is feeling discouraged. So I'll share a little tidbit. So I last year went to a conference and I was blessed to be able to receive the list. And it had been, I don't know, want to say a month or so later that it happened. And I'm like, no, it's too late. There's this rule out there. If you don't follow up in like 2 days or something like that, then it's like a dead lead. And I'm so glad that I didn't subscribe to what we consider the norm because what happens is I sent out the email sequence, and we'll talk about email sequences a little bit later, but I sent that out, and next thing you know, I'm getting responses, I'm getting calls booked. And if I would have followed by what I thought was typical, I would have just and it was a pretty hefty list, let it go and be able to miss out on, nurturing relationships, potential collaborations, or just potential opportunities in my business. So the crazy thing is that 44%, here we go with the numbers again, of salespeople quit after just one follow up. So if you're here with me tonight, or whether you're watching this on the replay, if you send a second or a third message, you already head of the game. So we're going to celebrate that. For those that said 2, maybe 5, 4 or 5, sounds like y'all are pretty much a part of the game. But don't worry, we're going to talk a little bit more about some actionable tips with that. So the next thing we want to talk about in this next topic, number 2, is the best time to follow up. So I said a spoiler alert earlier. The best time to follow up is just really doing the actual follow up. What I would like to say in this section is a lot of times we forget, or we tend to not follow up because we don't have a system in place. So I like to consider us thinking about a follow-up calendar method. And so when you think about the calendar method, the first follow-up could be initially, like I said, the 2 to 3 days after your initial contact. And there are some creative ways to be able to have someone remember. I've had someone come to my event, and she said what she does is like take a picture and be able to send that message like that in that way. Or, the second follow-up could be 5 to 7 days later. Again, keep in mind that these are like minimal standards. You have to consider what the service time frame is for your products. What's the lifespan of your clients? So think about that as you're building out this timeline. Previously, when I was doing it was more of a relationship building campaign. It was not that frequent of a follow-up. It may have been the 2-week follow-up, then maybe 30 days, and then we jump to like 60, 90, and 120 days. So you want to think about what your end goal is for it. And what I'm going to do now is actually I'm going to share my screen here so that I can show you a tool when you're thinking about a follow-up calendar method. So one of the tools that I use is ClickUp, which is a project management tool. I'm also going to show you a Google Sheet for those who where tech might be overwhelming for them, and maybe you're just in the process of building momentum and being able to build that muscle. So let me pause here. I see that Debbie said in the chat, one of my longest clients came to think of it. I followed up 3 times. She said she needed to follow up, and I can't imagine not having her as a client. Oh my gosh, I love that. So that's literally the power of us coming out of our shell and just empowering ourselves, because there's someone who actually needs our services, and we're doing them and ourselves no justice when we don't follow up. Thank you so much for sharing that, Debbie. All right, so let me hop over here to my other screen. Okay, so for those that are watching me now on Instagram, uh, you should be seeing a contact form, and this is inside of ClickUp. For those watching me on YouTube, you should be able to see this full screen as well. So what you're seeing here is our a sample ClickUp base that I have here, and it's for contact lists and pretty much the follow-up method. So you're going to see a couple different views. So let's start here. So the contact list, and this is just some sample information that has been inputted. If there's any questions while we're here, please feel free to go ahead and drop them in the chat. I love to keep this interactive. And if there's suggestions for other tools that you'd like to hear about, definitely feel free. We're here to learn and grow together. So if you look inside of here, so this is a setup where it would house the contact's names. It has the due date, which you can consider this the follow-up date. And then it has the source, meaning where this came from. And I'm going to show you the form that was created to be able to gather all this information here. But basically it houses all of the contact's information. You're then able to put notes. You're able to set recurring dates if this is, something where we were talking about that follow-up status of, the 7 days, 14 days, 30 days, 60 days, you name it. And how this information can get in there is two different ways. So, well, there's probably more than two, but I'm going to be showing two tonight. So one of this one is filling out a contact form, which is created. It's simple. It's something, I love the fact that it can also be embedded on your website. It could be shared as a link. So someone either internally or externally can be filling this. And when I say internally, if you have a contractor or assistant that you're working with, they can also be helping you with this as well. This form is customizable. So if there's other things that are, pertinent as far as information for you to capture, you can go ahead and capture that as well. I love to make sure we have some type of understanding because I love to develop basically processes and procedures for someone who is not doing something for the first, or they're doing it for the first time, I should say. It should be easy to rinse and repeat. So this is just a informational guide for the person who is doing it. And it's a working document. So as you go through it and customize it to your company or the process that you're doing for networking, you can go ahead and update the information there. But the beauty of it now is it's centralizing these contacts that you have met. Maybe you can update the statuses to match your business, like this particular one and shows negotiation. And this other, it's just showing who's inactive or disengaged, so following the process of your business is how that would go. Hello, Miss Fashionable Chic Tour. Yes, so this is an example when we talked about being able to, so this is an example of when we talked about being able to know when the best time is to follow up. The best time is to actually do it and build that consistency and the muscle of being able to touch your potential leads and touch your potential clients, or whichever phrase you may use. So here's what not to do. Don't follow up every single day. We are not spammers. We're in this age of bots. I love to always say that people need time to make decisions. And also we forget sometimes that we're actually dealing with people. I love to say that I'm people centric as far as the system and as far as the experiences that we create for ourselves and for clients. So if they ghost you after three messages, I don't want you to panic. Sometimes the leads just aren't ready. That's why I use the follow-up calendar method inside ClickUp to help stay organized. So I've shown that And now we're going to dive into automating the follow-ups to save time. So inside of ClickUp, you are able to connect to other tools such as ConvertKit for email marketing. Now, if you just want to use your Gmail account, there are some people that do that, but recently Google has created these higher privacy settings so that people aren't spamming people in their email. So just be mindful of that because you don't want your email to be banned or anything like that. And so how to create some automation around that is to use something like ConvertKit. Now, you don't have to use it, but this is what we use internally for email marketing. And this allows us to create email sequences and kind of remove some of that manual work that would be involved. So I'm also going to share my screen so I could show you that. Well, I'm going to show you an example, I should say. And then I'll also show you, for those who may feel that ClickUp is, maybe you're at the point where you just want to build a muscle with your follow-up. I'll show you a Google tracker that could be helpful as well. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen. And let me know if you still here. Drop me a hand in the chat or whatever emoji you're feeling. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, so what you're seeing now on my screen is ConvertKit. And so I'm just gonna show this one example. So on the dashboard, you could see like the open rate, all the data stuff. But the beauty of what I'm trying to show you is once you go inside, you can create your templated emails, set some parameters around it as far as time. Like, so this trigger one would go immediately. The other one would be 7 days after, and so on and so on. So they have specific triggers that would allow them to go at specific times. Then you're able to, through the reports, be able to see, who received, as who opened it, who clicked on whatever you may specifically have. Maybe you have unsubscribers, which I love to say that unsubscribers sound so horrible, but I would rather have an active list that's engaging with the content that I'm providing than just to have a list to just have a list. And then, okay, so Dr. Onikoi is asking, is the contact form something you created or is a template that can be edited in ClickUp? So it is partially something I created. It started from a template, but we customized it, especially for sharing in these particular instances. So yes, in reality, it's something that I created. Okay. And so for those who may feel that, maybe, ClickUp is a little bit too much, I also have I'm showing you just a general Google sheet. The idea here is to centralize your follow-up. Sometimes the reason why we also lack in follow-up is that we're getting stuff from all angles. I believe that you can't necessarily control all the ways the information comes in, but you can control once it gets to you, and centralize it for yourself to be able to work it. So, like for instance, on this one, it has some basic information such as first, last name, their contact information, the dates, and then I believe in segmenting. Just like how you do inside of ConvertKit, this is the same thing. So this is a drop down that would have these specific things and you could categorize, put notes. There's even the functionality now to be able to sort this by the particular statuses so you can group those statuses together. So that's a possibility as well. And so the idea here is that you can copy this month to month, and maybe there's ones that you need to nurture them, they're not ready, maybe putting them here on a long nurture list that you can continue to build the relationship. Um, and I'm going to make sure I get into the comments because I see some stuff coming in. Oh, yes. If definitely. Uh, Thank you for agreeing with that, Debbie and Patrice. Hey, Patrice. So, yes, if they unsubscribed, they were not your people. And I think there's a misconception, or I get it. Sometimes I feel like it too. I'm like, why did they unsubscribe? but in reality, it's a way to realize that they were not as engaged. And sometimes people unsubscribe and they actually come back later. So be mindful of that as well, that maybe it's a not now, but there's a way for them to stay, if you stay engaged in other areas, for them to come back and ultimately subscribe again. So just to quickly wrap up, if you're doing like your follow up sequences, you might want to consider, what does that look like for you? Is it 3 emails? Is it, maybe you're someone that's into video. Maybe it's adding in some videos or testimonials. So think of what your follow up sequence can look like, maybe how many emails you need, or start with 3 and then build on it. I love to say that we can't grow from what we don't measure. So maybe starting with the 3, seeing what your numbers look like, testing. Unfortunately, some people don't like to hear that word, but we have to test. Even me getting on here tonight was a test. Last night we had an issue connecting, so here we are tonight doing it. So I want to say that staying in touch doesn't need to be spending hours manually emailing people. Think of how we can automate and use technology to the best of our ability. So I'm hoping this has been helpful so far. Thank you for those who have been engaging in the chat. For those watching on the replay, if you have questions, comments, concerns, definitely feel free to drop it in the chat. Myself and my team would love to respond. We love being able to circle back and provide value. So hoping that keeping these in mind will allow you to realize, take the pressure off of yourself. And hey, brother. And don't take it personal. Rule number 1, like when you're handling, like say for instance, if you feel like you've been ghosted by the lead, don't take it personal. Rule number 2 is keep them on your radar, but don't be a stalker. I mean, maybe a low-key stalker, but not a full stalker. And rule number 3 is stay visible. And this part goes for those who maybe unsubscribe. They may be connected to you in some other way. So keeping them engaged with your content, your likes, post, sharing valuable insight is truly a game changer. I do feel like we say that word too much, but it is a game changer. So I'm hoping this was helpful. Thank you for those that were live, and just keep in mind that the best time for follow-ups there is no particular best time. We have to test and we have to see what works, not only for our business, not just the general rule, but for our business model. Making sure you centralize how you track your follow-ups, whether that's in ClickUp, maybe a Google Sheet, and then using automation to follow up with things such as ConvertKit. And consider those things I mentioned if somebody feels like they ghosted you. Again, I hope this was helpful. Drop a fire in the chat, and don't forget to grab your seat. We have an upcoming workshop. It is geared all around tools and leveraging the magic of follow-ups, and I'll be dropping the link below this video. But I'm hoping it was helpful, and thank you so much, everyone. As always, I'm cheering you on. Love y'all.